Coming up on Cronkite News, many asylum seekers are being sent from Arizona to D.C., and one group is demanding Governor Ducey bring this to a stop.
And a new report is connecting those who died by suicide to problems with an intimate partner.
And later, 4 Alaskan women have reunited to play hockey at ASU.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Geraldine Torellis.
And I'm Alexia Stambridge. Thank you for joining us. Arizona is one of 3 states sending migrants, specifically asylum seekers, to other locations across the country, including Washington, D.C. Today, a coalition held a press conference at the state capitol. Jimena Vera is in the newsroom and says the activists are demanding that Governor Ducey stop sending asylum seekers out of state.
A few dozen activists came to the Capitol to tell the governor they're going to be the voice of asylum seekers and fight against what they call a political stunt. Activist groups say that one of the problems of sending migrants in buses out of state is that they don't understand the language.
There's a lot of confusion. They sign papers that they don't understand. One woman said, "Why am I being sent to D.C. when my relatives are in California?"
Activists also question the amount of money spent in the process.
So far, Governor Ducey spent $3 million on busing these immigrants. It costs $200 per immigrant, and he has set aside $15 million to continue the program. Now, where is this money coming from, and who's paying for it?
According to Governor Ducey, Communications Director, as of to date, the state has sent 55 buses to Washington, a total of 1,967 migrants, and none of the migrants want to stay in Arizona. Eddie Chavez Calderon, campaign director of Arizona Jewish for Justice, says if the state wants to help migrants, there are other options.
Make sure to send them exactly where they need to go. Make sure that you figure out that they reconnect with their families. Other than that, it's just a political stunt.
In a press release, the Regional Center for Border Health says the governor's efforts are humane. They say some of these families have no money to travel onward. Arizona is not their final destination. This is 100% voluntarily to safely get the families and children that much closer to home. David Avila, is state director of LULAC, Arizona, disagrees.
And one of the things that I am most opposed to is the effort by so many to dehumanize people. So it's in our interest to stop the dehumanization of people, treat them as humans, as people.
According to the communicator direct of Arizona, the governor has no plans to stop sending migrants in buses.
Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, has appeared for an interview by the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Members of the panel have long expressed interest in speaking with her. Evidence shows that Thomas encouraged state lawmakers in Arizona and Wisconsin to overturn Joe Biden's electoral win. It was also previously reported that she texted Mark Meadows, Trump's then White House chief of staff, before January 6th about overturning the election. Thomas told reporters she was looking forward to answering questions from the members of the committee.
A report by Arizona State University reveals some new findings related to death by suicide. Arizona saw almost 12,000 violent deaths from 2015 through 2020. Nearly 70% of those were suicides. A significant number of those who died had an interpersonal problem that contributed, often with an intimate partner. According to the report by the Center for Violence Prevention and Community Safety, more than 1 in 4 victims of suicide had some sort of conflict in their personal relationships.
There was a fairly strong relationship between individuals who were having problems in their partnerships, intimate partnerships. This could be verbal, emotional, or physical violence.
Katz said this highlights the importance of human connection to improve mental health.
I think that one of the things that we're beginning to learn is that social relationships are perhaps, one of the most important things in life, period. And that we know that individuals who live the longest in life are those who have full, rich relationships with others.
September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. If you or a loved one are experiencing suicidal thoughts or emotional distress, call 988, which will connect you to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is open 24/7 with people who can offer resources to help. In the U.S., around 6 million people are living with Alzheimer's disease, but a new monoclonal antibody treatment is showing promising results. Drug makers released results from a recent clinical trial finding it slowed the rate of cognitive decline by about 27%. About 1,800 people in the trial got the drug, while others got a placebo. Over 18 months, they were asked questions about memory, orientation, and problem solving. In the trial, the treatment seemed to reduce the amount of plaques in the brain of a person with Alzheimer's disease. While this treatment has promising results, it is still early. If the treatment is given the green light by the FDA, it could be available as early as next year.
2 Arizona cities are among the best in the nation for people living with disabilities. That's according to a new report out from Wallet Hub. The personal finance website looked at more than 180 cities across the country, analyzing the local economy, quality of life, and healthcare. It found Scottsdale and Tempe to be in the top 10 cities with the best resources. In fact, Scottsdale recently hosted an Abilities Expo, showcasing available resources and new technology. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 4 U.S. adults have a disability that impacts their major activities. That's 61 million people, and states with a good economy and healthcare are more desirable for this population. And 2 other Arizona cities are partnering with food delivery company DoorDash to fight food insecurity. The alliance comes at the same time the White House held its first conference over hunger in over 50 years. Mesa Mayor John Giles and Tucson Mayor Regina Romero are working with DoorDash through Project Dash. It aims to help local communities by donating $1 million in gift cards and other resources to expand food access. The project also works with local food banks and community organizations. The company says local delivery can help ensure that families in need don't have to travel to get their meals. DoorDash says this project has already served more than 2.5 million people by delivering over 50 million meals.
There are new standards that foods have to meet before the healthy label can get stamped on its packages. Healthy is a regulated claim, which was first defined in 1994. The Food and Drug Administration says things have changed since then, and now the standards need to be updated. Currently, cereals that have a lot of added sugar still meet the definition of the healthy claim, while salmon, which is high in beneficial fat, does not. This new healthy claim would consider all the nutrients in foods. Coming up after the break, abandoned mines in Arizona could be leaching hazardous materials into the state's waterways. See how a bill in Washington aims to change that.
And Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida. The damage it caused up next.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons. Your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS. When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
You could soon see a new kind of plane at the airport. The world's first all-electric passenger plane just took flight earlier this week. It's called Alice. The first zero-emission aircraft runs on the same kind of battery that's used in electric cars or a cell phone. And with only 30 minutes of charging, Alice can fly for an hour at 287 miles per hour. That's about half the speed of a standard commercial plane. Alice is just one of 3 versions owned by the Israeli company Eviation. It hopes to have Alice in commercial service by 2027. And officials estimate that there may be more than 100,000 abandoned mines in Arizona, mines that may be leaching hazardous material into the state's waterways. Cleanup can be difficult, but a bill in Washington could make things a little bit easier. Cronkite News reporter Emily Miranda has more from our Washington bureau.
The problem with abandoned mines is that the owners who should clean them up are long gone, and anyone who wants to do the right thing and do the cleanup could legally be liable. That's where the Good Samaritan bill comes in. Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Director Misael Cabrera says the bill would eliminate the threat of legal action against someone working to clean up a mine.
I believe that this legislation is a great first step towards dealing with a considerable and significant problem all across the country and certainly in the West.
Many mines in Arizona were abandoned before current laws took effect that make mine owners liable for cleanup. Organizations that might come in and do the cleanup today worry that they could end up legally liable.
And what it does is it serves as a barrier and an obstacle to volunteers, nonprofits, new owners, or even states that want to clean up a site.
Under the bill, the Environmental Protection Agency would issue up to 15 Good Samaritan cleanup permits. Recipients would have to abide by all environmental rules during the cleanup, but would be relieved of the fear of legal liability for the mine. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly said the bill is urgently needed in the state where 120 streams are contaminated with minerals frequently associated with abandoned mines. He said 93 of those streams end up being sources for drinking water.
You know, these threats are threats to potential sources of drinking water, and they need to be taken seriously.
The first 15 Good Samaritan permits will go toward pilot projects across the country, projects that Cabrera believes can be used as a roadmap for larger cleanup efforts.
It'll be a great first step towards a broader program that'll open up opportunities to do this kind of remediation in a much larger scale.
Both Kelly and Cabrera said the problem of polluted waterways is particularly important to drought-ravaged Arizona, where every drop of water is important. In Washington, Emily Miranda, Cronkite News.
Cabrera says Arizona already has a list of 4 sites it plans to submit to the EPA for consideration as one of those first Good Samaritan sites, and the state will look to add others to the list in the future.
Because of Hurricane Ian, many are still dealing with the damage of the storm surge and flooding rains. Hurricane Ian was named one of the strongest hurricanes ever to hit the U.S. The storm knocked out electricity to more than 2 million Florida homes and businesses, cut off the only bridge to a barrier island, and flooded homes on both of the state's coasts. Sheriffs in Florida say 911 centers had thousands of stranded callers. The U.S. Coast Guard began rescue efforts around daybreak.
As you can imagine, it is pretty devastating. You know, when that storm came on shore yesterday, making landfall, heavy wind, rain, inundation, and the surge. And what it really does is left the place almost unrecognizable in some places.
Authorities confirmed over a dozen dead. A hurricane warning is now issued for the South Carolina coastline. Now we'll head to Jack Wu in the Weather Center to give us an update on the hurricane and our local forecast.
Well, Geraldine, the hurricane has now turned into a tropical storm. That does not mean it's over yet. As you can see, it has exited Tampa and is going through the northeast of Florida, and it will be pushed into the Atlantic Ocean, where it is expected to turn into a Category 1 hurricane. And this weekend, it is expected to make landfall in the Carolinas and Georgia. That is our update with Hurricane Ian. As for your temperatures tonight in Phoenix, we're going to be seeing temperatures in the mid-90s, 94 on your way home, and we're going to be sticking to the high and mid-80s for the rest of the night, ending our night with 86. As for your high temperatures, we're going to be sticking in the high 90s in the South Valley, 98 in Phoenix, 98 in Gila Bend. As for triple-digit temperatures, we're going to be seeing those all along western Arizona, Lake Havasu City and Yuma, both at 100 degrees. And we're going to be sticking in the low to mid 70s in northern Arizona. For your 8-day forecast, again, we're going to be having temperatures of 98 degrees tomorrow for the high, and we're going to be sticking around those temperatures for the rest of the weekend, and we're going to be seeing some of those lows in the mid-70s. As for the rest of your week, let's take a look at that. It's going to be overcast Monday and Tuesday, but again, it's going to be similar temperatures in the high to mid-90s and lows in the mid-70s. From the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Jack Wu.
Well, hey, I'm Chad Votherine, and coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report, including the story of how a LinkedIn message changed one Diamondback outfielder's career. We'll have more after the break.
Ain't no time for imitation, ain't no time for playing. I'm just gonna do me.
Know what I'm saying?
Try to stay out of trouble.
Where's the fun in that? You know how ladies can be.
I'ma do what I do.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Pales como este
Ducey.
van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
That way the flavors will marry nicely.
Can you tell me what I'm looking at?
I'm not looking for love, I'm looking for cookies.
And there's still places to discover.
It just absorbs you.
You can make this at home if you can't find it.
I will continue to eat and drink until you get here. Get here fast.
Cheers.
Oh, look at that. Oh, doesn't that look good?
We are going to be eating well.
It does work.
It does.
We got a happy little sky.
We're just getting started.
Well, welcome back to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Chad Votherine. Now, last night, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they beat the Houston Astros 5-2, but not without some drama at home plate. Now, both manager Torey Lovullo and third baseman Josh Rojas, they were ejected in the 6th inning for arguing balls and strikes. Rojas, he slammed his bat into the ground after striking out for the 3rd time. That prompted the automatic ejection. Now, despite the ejections, the Diamondbacks, they still came out on top in extra innings thanks to part efforts from Dalton Varsho and Christian Walker. Well, young players, they have been getting their shot with the Diamondbacks in this final month of the season, and one of those is outfielder Stone Garrett, who's had big league dreams since he could remember. Our Cronkite News reporter Danny Maha, he looked into Garrett's path to Chase Field, which was a bit unorthodox.
Stone Garrett was drafted by the Marlins in 2014 and began to rise up in their farm system. However, when the pandemic hit in 2020 and the minor league season was canceled, he was released by the team. Garrett would then commit to join an independent ball club to try to get his career back on track.
Yeah, I had no idea. I knew I was going to play for a year and see where that led, and if I was still in independent ball at the end of the year, that would have been it for my baseball career.
But before the 2021 season began, Garrett would receive a LinkedIn message that would change his whole career. Dan Budrika, the former video coordinator for the Marlins farm system, reached out to Garrett just to check in.
I just reached out randomly, and we're cordial. And then he asked me, and I just wanted to help the player out. I just wanted to help him out.
Although his path was unconventional, Garrett is grateful for the timely opportunity that he received.
It just shows you never know. Shoot your shot. You never know who's in a position to help you.
From the farm to job searching to the big leagues, Stone Garrett has proven that a dream can be just around the corner. You just have to look. In Phoenix, Danny Maha, Cronkite News.
Yeah, well, the Diamondbacks, they just have 6 more games left this season. Well, Aaron Judge, he joined a short list of MLB greats last night when he hit his 61st home run of the season to tie Roger Maris's single-season record. And now Judge, he's just one of 5 players to have more than 60 home runs in a season. He's only behind Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and of course former Sun Devil and San Francisco Giant Barry Bonds. Now Bonds, he does hold the all-time record with 73 home runs hit in a season, and he accomplished that in 2001. And Judge, he gave his special home run ball to his mom. And now with only 7 games left in the regular season, the question becomes, how many more home runs can Judge hit? Well, from growing up playing hockey together in Anchorage, Alaska, to winning a national championship, there's 4 women who are reunited again, but this time they're playing for maroon and gold. Cronkite News reporter Joseph Furtado says that the 4 are excited to be back together.
4 players on Arizona State's women's hockey team grew up playing hockey together in Anchorage, Alaska. Berkeley Radcliffe, Jill Ketchum, Ellie McKenna, and Brooklyn Callender were all part of the 2017 Anchorage North Stars team that won a national championship.
In front, and that'll do it. Anchorage will win 3-1. They win the 16U championships by a score of 3-1 over the Vermont Shamrocks.
Shortly after their championship win, the 4 would eventually split up and go on to play for different clubs, going as far as playing NCAA college hockey. Even after splitting up, the women remained great friends and still kept a strong relationship with one another.
We have a different kind of bond that, you know, a lot of girls don't get just because we've spent so much time together, so it's really nice getting that again.
For Berkeley Radcliffe and Jill Ketchum, they were the first to transfer to ASU back in the fall of 2020 after a short stint with their previous colleges. A year later, McKenna and Callender were also looking for a new team. McKenna spent her freshman season playing for Post University, but wasn't enjoying her time there. Neither was Callender, who just finished her sophomore year with the Adrian Bulldogs.
They had reached out to us asking how we liked it, and we definitely encouraged them to come play with us, but it was super exciting, and I'm really glad they're here.
With 3 of the 4 coming to play for Arizona State, Callender knew that getting the chance to play with her old teammates wasn't something she could pass up.
I always thought, if I ever went to ASU, I know I have Berkeley and Jill, and I was really close with them, and then found out Ellie was coming here, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go.
Now that they're all together again on the same team, the women are looking to run it back one more time at the collegiate level.
I think we're all really excited that we get to come back and play together again and kind of shoot for a national championship. Just because it's definitely not something we ever expected we'd be able to do again in our hockey career. We didn't think all 4 of us would ever be together.
The 4 will kick off their season on September 30th against the Utah Utes at Oceanside Ice Arena. It'll be the first time they have played together since their national championship win in 2017. In Tempe, Joseph Furtado, Cronkite News.
Well, ASU football, they are back at it again after a loss last week against Utah. The Sun Devils, they're ready to face the 6th-ranked USC Trojans in this week's matchup on Saturday night. And the undefeated Trojans now, they barely beat Oregon State last week, but the Sun Devils, they know that they have a tall task ahead of them at Trojan Stadium. ASU, they've struggled offensively, and they need to find more pass protection for quarterback Emory Jones. Now, offensive coordinator Glenn Thomas, he compares what they did last week and what they need to focus on coming into this game.
I thought we did a better job as the game went on in protection. I think there was 4 sacks maybe in the first half and then just 1 in the second half. So I think as the game went on, we adjusted a little bit offensively as far as what they were doing schematically, and I think that helped us. But obviously, we got to start the game off faster to keep the protection, to keep the quarterback in the pocket clean, particularly early in the game.
Well, that's it that we have for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Alexia.
Coming up after the break, take home a new furry friend for a reduced fee, only for a limited time. We'll have the details.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons, your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS. When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
Are you looking for a new furry friend? Now's the time to adopt one at even lower rates. Empty the Shelters is back. Our nation's shelters are overburdened and struggling to keep up with the increase in owner surrenders. The Bissell Pet Foundation is sponsoring reduced adoption fees at over 280 shelters in 42 states. From October 1st through 8th, you can adopt a dog or cat for just $50 or less. In Arizona, participating shelters are located in Phoenix, Chino Valley, Payson, Sedona, Yuma, and Casa Grande.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.